Natalie Potts, personal development and business coach, and each week I'll be bringing an inspiring personal message to help you unlock creating and living a life full of energy and happiness. Today, I want you to stop making excuses for who you are and where you are. What you do matters. Everything. The big stuff, the little stuff. It matters that you waste time. It matters that you blame others for your failures. It matters that you're lazy at times. It matters because achieving your goals matters. And eliminating these excuses in your pathway is what's going to take you there. And this is all around understanding the process or the pathway. And recently I've had a bit of kind of thinking about myself of, do I focus too much on a goal or do I focus on the process and what is right? And sometimes people will say, just focus on the goal. And other people will just say, just focus on the process. And I think, well, both of those people sound really convincing when they say that. And I'm just using generically. I know I've heard both sides before. And I think that sometimes just because somebody's a perceived expert or whatever, that we have to think that, well, they're right. And it's like, well, no, what does it mean to me? What's right for me? And I've explored a lot of this when I'm goal setting. I have just focused on a goal massively when I'm doing fitness. I often kind of like to think of an anchor as a visual of where I want to get to and what I want to look like, how I want to feel. And I really get that image in my mind. And that goal I just go for by thinking of what that end result is. But actually, in business, I have to focus on the process massively. And actually, what I've also noticed is that worked one time for fitness. It hasn't worked since. And I've had to learn to fall in love sometimes more with the process, especially when I haven't enjoyed doing it. And that's then invited me to start to look at discipline and things. So for me, I very much believe that you really have to understand the process or the pathway. And I use those two terms because, again, language is so powerful and different language means different things to different people. So it's useful to say different phrases and say different words, I believe. So I really think this is about really drilling down on the process. And I want to just touch on that part of the failures. And I think this is really poignant. I often talk about this in podcasts around really looking at learning, failing, growing. And I just think this is so important. And again, focus on the fact that it's okay to fail at things. It's good to fail at things. Life is completely out of control at points at the moment. There is no linear approach to things. You need to jungle gym. And I heard that term in Sheryl Sandberg's Leaning, I think it was, or through Sheryl Sandberg, saying that we just need to do different things. And it might even been Ariana Huffington. Both those ladies are amazing if you haven't ever heard of them or followed them, just in terms of their approach to business and their approach to life with business as well, and being females, obviously. And their struggles, how they've overcome their obstacles in creating successful businesses and successful and happy lives as well. And I just want to draw on examples in the past of just thinking about people that have really achieved something great and been on the path where they know they've wanted to get from A to B and what that B looked like, but really drilling down on that process. And one was kind of Winston Churchill, so going back years and years and years, but he failed his 6th grade and lost every public election he ran until he was first elected Prime Minister of England at the age of 62. Van Gogh sold one painting his entire life to a friend's sister for about $50. He painted over 800 masterpieces, 7 of which now are over 1 billion in terms of their worth, which is absolutely staggering. J.K. Rowling, so Harry Potter, she went to 12 major publishers who rejected the manuscript of Harry Potter. And then finally, 1 year later, Bloomsbury accepted it and they extended it for a very small 1,500 advance. So you can actually imagine where they're feeling about everything with Harry Potter now. It's absolutely amazing. Sir James Dyson, he failed 5,126 prototypes over the course of 15 years before actually just creating the bagless vacuum that led to a net worth of nearly 5 billion. And I thought, can you imagine as well the childhood without Disney? So where would we be if we didn't have that in our lives? And our going back to growing up as kids and our experiences, our memories. He was told by his former newspaper editor that he lacked imagination and had no good ideas. Michael Jordan, he was cut from his basketball team. I mean, I was reading these. I was like, no, these can't be true. Seriously. 6 championships and 5 MVPs later. So, he's kind of his moments. He is arguably the greatest basketball player of all time. And he was famous for saying, I have missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I have lost almost 300 games. On 26 occasions, I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot and I've missed. I have failed over and over and over again in my life, and that's why I succeed. And I love that quote. I've heard that before loads of times, but I just think it's really poignant. And this is about living excuse-free and taking responsibility for every single aspect of your life. It's about creating a future you're proud of. So, what if it's been done before? Be the first and do something different. Or if it hasn't been done, just go and do something different. Look at what you could do. Be creative and, take a risk. People that are often successful have taken big risks. See, so what if you get it wrong a few times? Reinvent yourself. Come back and do something different. So what if you don't have a college degree? Be curious. Go and learn more. So what if no one believes in you? Well, you don't need any approval from anybody else to be successful. Somebody actually said to me this week, they said, you look like you're really successful and great. And I said, yeah, you're right. I am successful because I'm happy. And it took me a long time, I guess, from my 20s to really understand what happiness means to me, and success means. And I remember once asking my dad, he was, he's had a very successful career, what I would deem, and probably, most of the family would, and friends. And I said to him, I was like, what's success to you? And he was like, happiness. And I was like, And it just kind of stumped me because I was used to be very mercenary in my young 20s. I'd want a car, I'd want a bag, I want the shoes, I want spend all my money on clothes the whole time. I never saved. And I've complete shift in that, 10 years later from that. So we do change, and 2, I think it's really important that you really define and understand what those terms mean to you, in terms of very much as well, if you're looking still kind of thinking about, I don't know my purpose in life, I don't know what really actually truly makes me tick every morning, what gets me out of bed. I think sometimes if you can explore what those 2 meanings and those, the meanings to those words mean, that can really help you. So what if it gets hard? All big things are going to require pain and loss. And we have to learn that people are coming in and out of our lives, and we can't react and be sad and upset and have all of our energy drained every time that happens. It's going to be happening all the time. So you just have to get used to it. You have to learn, how do I get the best out of myself and react better to these situations as I come across them, apart from feeling always such a loss and pain. So what if people aren't following you? So a real big one with social media. Then, they'll follow you once you do something amazing, or they'll follow you when it ticks their box. Sometimes people just follow and follow and follow, and you don't actually know. And then they'll kind of engage with you in some way. So let it go. So what if you get hurt? Well, that's the price of boldness. So what if you're underappreciated? Well, your ego would only make you complacent. And Wayne Dyer talks a lot around the ego, and it's around like edging God out, and the comments you say to yourself, how you approach situations, the way you look at things, changing your perspective. He said the quote, change the way you see things and the things you look at change. So yeah, if you've never explored Wayne Dyer, I advise you to go and have a little look at his work. It's amazing. So what if everything you thought was right turns out to be wrong? Then go and make up some new rules. Change it. Change the status quo. Do something different. Break the norm. So what if experts disagree with you? Like I said earlier, then those experts might be wrong. Who says that you've got to just focus on the goals, you've got to just focus on the process? I really think people just need to really have the confidence to say, this works for me, that works for me, and that doesn't work for me. And just explore things, be curious, learn. So what if you give more than you get? Then you might just be happier for that. And I think with all of these, you've noticed that it's kind of, so what? So what? So what? And it's a great question that, there's two words that I'll ask often when exploring options with a client. And we'll just talk things through. And very much obviously around kind of moving on from the obstacles part and how we get over it as well. And it is, so what? What does that mean if it happens? Talk to me. Tell me more. And I think it's really interesting that we could do it more of ourselves and just ask that. So what does that mean? And especially if we're trying to make a decision, you have to look within yourself and you have to challenge yourself to the demons that are holding you back from being successful. You will never rise to be the champion until you look past the fear and the failure and the excuses that are holding you back. So I would say, ask yourself again, so what is my excuse? And eliminating excuses is really important because your future is important. And it's not about maybe just thinking, let's just think future focused all the time. I'm a big believer in being in the moment. And you really have to look at where you're at right now. And you have the decision to change what is not serving you. And your decisions lead to your destiny. And you have to believe that. And sooner or later, what you do and who you really are determines ultimately what you achieve. So what does this mean to you? Let's get practical about it. Let's talk about how much sleep you really need and how you make a decision like that impacts your results. So if you get up earlier, it means you have more time to conquer the world. You simply could get up an hour earlier a day for 50 years, equates to an extra, get this, 2,281 business days, or 6.25 years of conquest. And I know that sounds really stupid to talk about like that way, and it sounds over the top, but we need to sometimes shift the perspective in terms of the awareness of where we are with things, because it allows us to get that awareness of this is serving me, this isn't serving me, and take action. And then obviously you bring about change. You win more when you fight more. And by fighting, I mean that you're really exploring some of this and thinking about the detail of things. You don't have to stick to it, but I think it's quite funny to look at it in a different way and change your perspective and think, wow, that's really shifted how I want to see this and the work I need to do. I remember when I was on doing my first fitness cut, and someone broke down like the amount of extra time. I think it's like 33% of our year is weekends. Don't quote me on that. But it was something like that. And just that way of putting it, I was like, oh my goodness, like I've got to change the fact that I have a really solid week and then at weekends I just think party, and then I can still get in really good shape. And I was like, I just can't. That's a real big stat. So I guess that then created a visual for me, and it just made me think differently and then changed my attitude to the way that I was approaching the whole process, like I'm saying, for the end result. So it's easy to say to someone working hard is important, and I really do think it's easy to say that. But your daily decisions are going to add up over time, and it's about being smart with your time as well. And it's not always working harder. It is about what are you doing and looking at that. And your future is about the decisions you make, and then that creates ideas. So you have to be really conscious of what you want to change right now. And that's the mindset part. That's an understanding of your thoughts, your actions, your behavior, the way you look at things, and deciding whether that's working for you. And if it's not, what are you going to do about it? What are you going to change? How are you going to change it? Who can help you? Explore, be curious. I think when you're in that situation, you have to choose to be positive. You have to choose to know that things might get scary, that you will have fear and you will worry about things, but you need to stop worrying and putting your energy into the fear and into the worry, and you need to put your energy into taking a bit of a risk, seeing if it works, feeling out of your comfort zone, being uncomfortable. You really have to put that energy into there. And fight to win, even when you get knocked out, knocked down, or someone, that expert again who you think's an expert says, it's not working or it's not right for you, or what a silly comment or what a stupid thing to think. People do say things like this. People can be quite nasty and quite negative, and I often think when someone's like that, it's because it's more about them than you. But you need to know how to manage that so it doesn't impact you and hold you back. And again, allow that to be an excuse. So every day, know who you are. So really know your values, get defined with those. And that's why I'll always wait with clients at the start and be wanting to understand their value system and what's really, really important to them. And you can never assume, because everybody wants different things in life. And that's what's great about us being individual and diverse in the world. So when you then know what you want, you have to live your life according to your value system. And that often helps you in terms of confidence, in feeling that, you're achieving great things, you're on the right track, you're making progress. And you have to also invest in your personal development and professional development. So whether that's, personal might be getting a PT, or personal might be getting somebody to talk through your life goals. Business would be more professional. You might get a coach to help you business. You might get a mentor, somebody that can hold you accountability. So really invest in your personal development. But I mean that in the round of business and personal. And, just thinking differently around, don't let anxiety drive your decisions. It's really important that you think about being smart with your decisions and your ideas, and that's what's going to change for you, change your world. And those small choices, I say again, they are what makes up a big difference. So I think overall for this today, it's around stop making excuses, pause, take a moment, evaluate where you're at, and almost you could always, as an activity, you could do a day where you are awake, you take notice. And again, this is about that kind of being in the moment and self-awareness part of the thoughts that you're having, and then the decisions that you're making. And also though, why is it such a hard decision to make potentially? So I know my style naturally, personality wise and behaviourally, is to, one, be very visual, and I reflect a lot. I'm a massive reflector, and sometimes that works for me, sometimes it doesn't. But often it allows me, I've noticed, to take a step back and slow things down to speed things up. So I know that's where it's really important to me. And then I'll consciously know now and think there are moments and points in my life that I just can't be like that. And I'll know when I need to be better and make faster decisions. And those decisions might not always pay off. And I'm then conscious that sometimes where you do reflect and you take ages to make decisions because you want to evaluate them all and think about them, actually you just don't take risks, you don't give things a go, and it just shows that maybe you're trying to be too perfect, opposed to actually what we're talking about and what I'm saying is really important to do is to just give it a go, fail, learn and grow. And I've said that saying so much this week. I've said it about 6 times, I think, in one day. Just as like, fail, learn and grow. But one, I quite like it. And two, I think it's been useful and it's been relevant to the moments I've been in. So be conscious of your decision making, be aware of who you are and what you do, and make a difference to the world and see the difference that you have in the world and your world, and stop making excuses and start making it happen. So this is the importance of eliminating those excuses in understanding the outcome of every single decision that you make. And I'm going to say this again, this is the final thing, because I thought it was really interesting. And everybody that's not positive or says that I'm the Energizer Bunny or positive toxic, being positive 20 times a day for 15 years is 109,500 opportunities to create a happy future. So I think there was also, I think I might have said it in my previous podcast, there's a stat out there that you have to, for every negative, you have to have 7 positives. I mean, it's crazy, isn't it? It's a massive number. So again, like this, you have to consciously create these, the atmosphere, the outlook, the perspective that you have, the way that you see things. You have to be deliberate. And I guess it's that setting an intention about the way you choose to see things. So short and sweet today, but I thought it's really interesting to actually kind of put it out there on your Monday morning, is to stop making excuses, or actually just reflect on your day and be conscious of the decisions you're making and the thoughts that you have, and whether you are making slow decisions and you are actually making excuses. Because sometimes if we're not aware, then we can't change them. Thank you so much for your time. I do really appreciate it, and listening to my podcast. If you haven't listened to last week's, please do go and listen. It was around the one thing you need more of in your life: but that's all I'm going to say. So you can go and listen to it. So I highly recommend you check it out. I'll put the link into this episode as well for you. But please connect with me on my social media. I'm at Natalie Potts Coaching everywhere, nataliepotts.co.uk. And on Facebook, I've got a community, which is Living a Vibrant Life. And I love to hear from you. So, you know, it could be constructive feedback. It could be a share. It could be sharing it with a friend, dropping me a question. It could be creating a debate, something you don't agree with. I love it. All of it. Just reach out. You know, that's what's important. And to connect, that's what I really enjoy doing. Whatever you do, though, have a great day and have an amazing week.